The story of Sekiro, the Ashina Outskirts. We begin Sekiro as a broken, disheartened shinobi, defeated and wasting away in the bottom of a well located in the outer sections of the Ashina castle. Immediately upon completing the opening cinematic, which shows the rise and prominence of the Ashina clan at the hands of Ishin, the aptly named Sword Saint, this land seems dark, decaying almost as we emerge from our well. Soldiers patrol the reservoir, undoubtedly there to protect the precious water source that would be the lifeblood of the castle in the event of an invasion. How did we get here? Why does this once great clan seem to be breathing its final death throes? The soldiers comment on your presence in the well as you eavesdrop from the nearby bushes. Broken, defeated, and cowardly. All words seemingly describing you as well as the land that they inhabit. Though this area serves mainly as a tutorial for the game, it grounds us in the reality of the world we have just begun to explore. All is not well in Ashina, and war is on the horizon. The Ashina clan rose to prominence in a historic era which we know as the Sengoku era. Samurai clashed like wild storms over the island of Japan, but through this chaos rose the opportunity for power for one clan. Led by their charismatic master swordsman Ishin, the Ashina rebelled against the other clans, and with his cinematic defeat over General Tsumura, Ashina solidified itself as a powerhouse. But that era has ended now. Times change, and it would seem that as quickly as the flame of rebellion can surge the Ashina clan forward into prominence, the waters of the fountainhead can simmer it back into the ashes, a reoccurring theme in all FromSoft games. The main story behind Sekiro will be covered in many pieces on this channel, and as tempting as it may be to cover it all in one sitting, it is much too entangling a tale to unwind in a single video. Today we will begin with our first major area of the game, the Ashina Outskirts. Castles in this period were constructed as military, economic, and strategic centers of power. Their location and influence on a region had to be precise. Naturally, this led those who lived under their protection to gather close to its towering walls and gorging moats. The residents would have lived in what was called a jomakuchi, or a town below the castle. This is where we begin our path to rescuing the divine heir placed under our protection, Lord Kuro. Immediately upon completing the tutorial, we awaken and are treated to a friendly but rough voice. Who is this one-armed man who saved us from certain death? A story for another time for sure, but save us he did. After a bit of tutorial dialogue and familiarizing ourselves to the game, we step off. Or should I say, rope up to the first leg of the journey. Immediately noticeable in the background, looming in the distance, is the intimidating, imposing, yet somber visage of the Ashina castle. Built upon a mountainside, with steep cliffs on either side, the terrain itself here is a weapon, a symbol of everyday life in this war-torn era. As we rope across the chasm, below us certain death, we land sure-footed on the very edge of the Ashina outskirts. Lightly guarded, almost as if the soldiers here are just a preliminary defense or early warning system. Not nearly adequate enough to defend against a well-trained and proficient shinobi, we carve our way through the shadows. The area here seems to be unkempt. Walls missing sections, palisades poorly erected, piles of rubber burning in the open. We cut and slash our path through this lackluster defense until we meet the leader of this ragtag group of samurai. We can confront this heavily armed general head-on, or choose to utilize our abilities as a shinobi to land a death blow from above before engaging him. We opt to use the terrain as an advantage and swiftly put an end to what will be his final watch of this outer perimeter. Next, we find ourselves hurtling over a scantily built wall, protecting what seemingly is to be a living quarters section of the outskirts. But I use the word seemingly here for a reason. Structures half collapsed, walls completely destroyed, fires raging around every corner. War is not just looming in Ashina, it has arrived. The enemy presence in this area picks up dramatically. Heavily armed patrols scour the perimeters, snipers in elevated areas, eager to spot an unsuspecting attacker. Prepared as they may be, we are no samurai, and finesse, not brute strength, is our preferred tool of the trade. We climb, kill, and murder our way through the initial groups of enemies, using their own blood to screen us from their allies until there are no more. Before we dispatch 2 of the guards, we find them discussing the current state of war.
What? We'll be just fine. Look, Ishin may be sick, but he's still going strong. Genichiro is a terror with the bow. And of course, we have Gyobu the demon.
Ah, Gyobu, of course. Good point. As long as he is with us, no man could ever breach the Ashina Castle gate.
One is concerned with how things are going, while the other assures him that as long as Gyobu the demon protects the gate, nothing can harm Ashina. They agree and continue their overwatch over the area. Who is this demon? He must be quite the warrior to garner such a strong reputation. I violently press on, but then I find something peculiar. A wounded samurai, gravely injured, lying on the floor near one of the houses. A man named Inosuke, a vassal of the Harada family, which is a name we will hear much more of in a later video. He tells us that our voice is strangely familiar, implying that we have indeed met before. He begs us to speak to the old woman in the house next to him. She is his mother, but due to her age, she cannot tell the difference between her son and anybody else. We oblige his request and head up to speak with her. She greets us as her son and asks if we have seen the young master. We kindly tell her that she is mistaken. She responds with loving banter, asking us to accept the bell she has and to offer it to the statue of Buddha. We take it, but without full understanding of what to actually do with it.
Well, anyway, take this bell. It's a charm I made with the young master in mind. Please, offer it to Buddha for his sake.
From here, we continue forward where we are greeted with another peculiar character on top of a hill. Crows circle above him as if he is a carcass waiting to be feasted on, yet he lives and speaks to us. Care to give an offering to the memorial mob. Where you find the departed, surely you will find the memorial mob nearby. A merchant peddling his wares near the war-torn area of Ashina. Crows symbolizing his profit made off men's blood and broken bones. A useful if not necessary ally for trying times such as these. On we push to the next set of gates. Here we are placed again in a situation where we can choose our fate. Barrel forward head on and fight against the guards here while avoiding the cannon blasts from above, or utilize our training and approach from where they will never see us coming. Once again, the latter entices us, and we dispel all notion of halting our progress through this area. Now we are finally breaking into the intersections of the outskirts, a well-built gate that we are forced to overtake using our shinobi tools, leading to a well-protected stable, and yet another interesting character with a story to tell. Again, we find ourselves face to face with someone who seems to know us, but the feeling is not reciprocated. He entices my curiosity enough for me to shell out a few sen to purchase information from him. He tells us that we met in the Harada Estates. Again, this name. What happened at this place that everyone seems to recall except for us? He says that we were looking for something that night, but he does not know what. He also divulges that he was a member of a band of thieves that attacked the estate in the night. An advantageous night, seeing as, for some reason, all the young samurai were away, making the target much simpler to ransack. During their attack, he tells me that they found a shinobi tool, a barrel that shoots flames, that devastates anything it touches. An enticing treat for sure. I then clear across the courtyard, where we see our first vision of Lord Kuro. The woman he is with seems familiar to me, but I can't put a name to her at the moment. Lord Kuro speaks about the Harada Estates and shows deep remorse over what happened there. Surely this place is important. If so, why can I not recall what happened there? We won't get the answers we seek standing here in the stables, however, so on we go. In the next walled section, we can listen in on an important conversation between 2 guards. One is extremely concerned with someone they have tied up in front of them, worried about getting injured before the war begins. If the worst happens, our only choice is fire. The Red Eyes fear the fire. It would seem the Ashina clan is preparing for war in some unconventional ways, and some of those methods may be harder to control than they anticipated. We dispatch these two and move up the stairs. Here we come face to face with the first real challenge in the game. This raging prisoner kicks, slams, and grabs. No weapon in hand, just brute strength. If he gets his hands on me, well, surely it's the end. If only there was a weapon that provided a flame to quell his anger and close his red eyes. Either way, we defeat him and progress on to the next well-defended area. The defenses have stepped up greatly here. The walls are much more intact, with only a small gap for us to sneak through in. The guards in this area are everywhere. Some patrolling, some stationary, even a lookout with a bell to warn everyone else if we are spotted. We must tread carefully here. At the center of the enclosure is a heavily armored samurai. He must be the exterior walls commander of some sort. It would be unwise to engage him along with all of his soldiers, so once again to the shadows we go. Quickly dispatching of all the lookouts, we maneuver around methodically, picking off the guards without being seen, until finally just the two of us remain. We engage, and his wild swings with his large sword prove difficult to manage, almost ending our quest before it truly even starts. But with some shinobi tricks, we persevere and are victorious. The defenses surrounding this gate are broken. There is just one problem. The gate is shut, and the bridge is destroyed. There is no way to breach the fortress here. We must find another way. It is time for us to explore. To find a route into the castle, we must be thorough. We go back to where we just downed our last foe and head to the cliffs. Here we find some branches and a ledge leading to a platform below the walls we just called home. A sign preceding the leap told us of the headless warriors and how fighting them was futile. As we proceed into a deep cave, the light has completely abandoned us here. As we approach an opening, we see a faint purple light in the distance, ominous yet silent. We jump down to investigate, and to our surprise, the ground is engulfed in smoke. Grasping at our very feet, we struggle to even move. The figure in front of us is daunting, rotten, headless. He swings his purple cloaked sword, and it causes us terror with every clang. Our only choices are fight or flight, but running is impossible in the dense swamp of smoke. We eventually land a death blow, causing a brief break in the smoke's embrace. We can move freely again, but our foe is still right with us. We apply more pressure, becoming wildly aggressive, as my fear of dying in this dark, cold place terrifies me more and more. Finally, our enemy is defeated, and we learn a valuable lesson about the headless warriors of Ashina. After escaping the cave, we come back upon a route that leads us right back to where we began this small leg of our journey. No luck there, no progress made. We must find another way. We go back to the bridge to see what's around, and we find a path leading underneath the bridge. This could be our way. Leaping across the canyons, we begin to hear a loud rumble. The earth itself shakes as if it's being torn asunder. Then, out of what seems to be the cold circles of hell, we see the cause of all the quaking. A huge pale white serpent, its body engulfing the entire cut between the mountains. She seems to be searching for us as we hide from her sight. We make a run for it, just barely avoiding her wrath. In a last-ditch effort to hide, we creep into a cart that looks as if it's part of a ceremony just left out in the open. The drapes concealing us as the serpent brings its eye right up on the curtain, and we take our chance to strike. As we plunge our katana into her eye, chaos erupts, her body violently slamming against the walls as she thrashes about. We quickly make our escape, noting what lies in wait if we ever decide to delve into the depths again. Catching our breath for a moment, we find ourselves in a much more fortified section of Ashina. We are close to the castle, and the well-kept defenses here signify a much more present enemy threat. We begin clearing the area of any guards as we progress. From the roof, we overhear a soldier lamenting his poor horse and his demise. The loud crackling of gunpowder scared her to death. They were close, and you can feel the sorrow in his voice. We allow them to rejoin each other in another life, plunging our katana into his spine. It is here that we find our second vision of Lord Kuro. This time, however, Genichiro, our villain from the beginning of the game, is accompanying him. They discuss Ashina and the war that is encroaching on her walls. Genichiro imploring Kuro to allow him to use his power to save Ashina. Kuro is confused on the right thing to do. This does not make sense to us yet, but our focus remains the same. Get to the castle and rescue Kuro.
I could never be as strong as you, Lord Genichiro. I do not yet know what it is I should do.
It has been a long time since that happened. Wait all you like. It'll do you no good.
Hopping over the walls reveals to us a massive battlefield. Bodies strewn throughout the open field. It seems like someone tried to invade here and was put to the sword. Hundreds of dead litter the floor. Crows cawing in the distance. It is about halfway through the field that we are greeted with a booming voice breaking through the gate. Gyobu the demon. We have heard this name before. He is the pride of Lord Genichiro, who guards the gates of Ashina, a final and undying line of defense for the castle. He throttles us from his steed as we try and keep pace with his erratic attacks. We manage a death blow, but this does not slow him down at all. This fight is a whole different level, testing our abilities. Using the firecrackers we learned would scare the horses just moments ago. Finally, he falls, begging forgiveness from his Lord Genichiro. Finally, we have made it. We are now at the front gates of the Ashina castle. Just a few more guards, and we will be able to start our infiltration to save Lord Kuro. But first, the crows beckon to us to see what is upon the other path. Here we find a strange man dressed as a Tengu. He demands we tell him our name, and he threatens to kill us. He is imposing, yet friendly. We are reminded of someone, but we can't quite put our thumb on it. He asks for our help in ridding Ashina of rats. He tells us if we help him, he will reward us with something that will help us throughout our quest. As we leave him, we turn the corner where we come face to face with another older lady. She asks if somebody finally killed Gyobu. Then she warns us that all of it is pointless, as more war, more killing will come. The hatred will build and will be unleashed upon the land. We leave her eerily, considering the ramifications of our current path. We head back to the castle. It is time to begin rescuing Lord Kuro. Our next episode, we will begin clearing the Harada estates. And while it seems like we might be jumping around, it is important to take these events in the order in which they are presented in the game. We killed the Chain Ogre, but I am playing on New Game Plus, so it makes the game a little bit easier when you already have all the prosthetic tools unlocked. So for our next episode, we'll delve into the story of the Harada estates. I really hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I can't wait to bring you more. I'll also be doing deep dives into the lore behind the major characters of the game, as well as some extreme dives into what makes some of these characters so influential on the game itself. So you guys stick around for those. I hope you like it. Welcome to the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. I'll catch you guys in the next story of Harada Estates.